Since I posted my last video about the Nikon Z6III, why I pre-ordered it and why you might not need to buy it yourself, I got lots of messages, lots of comments on all social platforms about this video, about this topic, and I decided why not making a video to answer these questions and to explain my point of view. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on my channel. I'm PhotoRabs. I make videos about photography, filmmaking, camera tech related reviews, unboxings, action cams, vlogging kits and so on. If you are interested in these topics, I highly appreciate if you go subscribe to my channel, that's a massive help. On this channel I post also my thoughts about gears, cameras that I think they can be interesting for my workflow or they are interesting in my workflow. So these are my thoughts based on my personal opinion, whether via spec sheets or videos that I watched online about these cameras or these gears. You might share the same thoughts or not, and that's totally fine. In the last video about the Nikon Z6III, I shared my opinion about it, why I pre-ordered it, and why you can maybe stick to the Nikon Z6II or buy a Nikon Z6II instead, and that might be the best fit for your workflow at this time. And no, it's not the Nikon Z6III here. So I got this package. I bought this MIC 50mm f1.8 for the full frame Nikon Z mount system, so I can compare it in a head-to-head comparison with this Nikon 50mm 1.8 here. So if you are interested in this lens, stay tuned on my channel. I bought also these foams here because, let me show you. I'm recording these videos now in this place, in this studio space. And behind the camera I have a concrete wall, so the audio is not perfect. I have lots of echoes, lots of sounds bouncing over the place, so I got these foams in order to make it a little bit better. I will install them later on. In the title of that video I said I pre-ordered my Nikon Z6III, and during the video I say that the upgrades that we got on the Nikon Z6III for me are worth the investment, at least on the spec sheets and on the videos that they were posted already online by some creators who were paid by Nikon, or I don't know how, but they got the camera and they made videos about it. And apparently the specs are really solid on the Nikon Z6III, and that's why for me, for my workflow, this camera could be a best fit rather than the Nikon Z6II. But once again, if you don't need these upgrades, you might not need to consider buying the Nikon Z6III and stick with the Nikon Z6II because it's a fantastic camera. I have two Nikon Z6IIs that I work with for maybe the last 3 or 4 years, and I was really satisfied. In photography, they never failed on me, whether in autofocus or anything else, so I really like the Nikon Z6II. But since I do lots of videos as well as photography at the same time, I needed something that I can rely on for videography as well as for photography, and that's for me the big selling point on the Nikon Z6III. And for those who think that it was a clickbait video, I can literally say it is not, because I'm not misleading you to go buy this camera instead of that one. The Nikon Z6II is a great one. The Nikon Z6III, I haven't tried it yet. I bought it to be able to try it very soon on this channel. I will be comparing it to the Nikon Z6II in different cases, whether in videos or in portrait photography, weddings, events and so on, so I can make my own decision about it and I can share with you these decisions and these thoughts about this camera, because obviously on the internet we can see only paid sponsorship for now, so we only see the good things on the Nikon Z6III. Even Jared Polin made a video showing that maybe the autofocus is not as good as you might expect it to be, but it's like very comparable to the Nikon Z9, which is very good. And the Nikon Z9 is a very good camera, we all know that. This is the high-end camera from Nikon, so the Nikon Z6III, if it has somehow the same autofocus as the Z9, that is a very good point in my opinion. And in the video I said I bought the 85mm 1.4 full frame Nikon Z mount system from MIC. I already have one, but I bought another one so I can be able to compare them in a real head-to-head comparison, the Nikon Z6II and the Nikon Z6III in a portrait photo shoot. So I was not able to afford the 85mm 1.2 from Nikon to have two of them, so I got 85mm 1.4 from MIC, which is a great lens, by the way. I made a video about it, so now I can compare the Nikon Z6II to the Nikon Z6III and make my own decisions in portrait photography as well. To be honest, I really think that the Z6III is a best fit for my workflow compared to the Z8, which is at about maybe 500 to 600 euros more compared to the price of the Z6III to the day I'm recording this video. Because on the Z6III we have a flip out screen, which is much needed in videography, because we have lower megapixel counts, which is for me a best fit for low light performances. So I think that the Z6III will have a better low light performances compared to the Z8, because we have bigger pixels, we can gather more lights on the Z6 than on the Z8. So for me, because I shoot weddings and events in low light conditions, I need these performances in high ISO levels. So that's why I think the Z6III should be better than the Z8. Add to that, the Z6III has a mechanical shutter, the Z8 does not, and the mechanical shutter allows us to have a better dynamic range. So for me, for my portraits, when I'm shooting in backlit scenes, I need this dynamic range, this rich dynamic range. So that's why I went with the Nikon Z6III. I hope it can be as good as it looks on the papers. And till I try it, have a nice day and see you on another one. Ciao for now.